somewhere beyond the known stars, from the frequency where questions become music, prepare yourselves for the host of this transmission, the cosmic band leader, the dangerous question asker, Mexico Johnson.
Well. Back in the saddle. All right, we're going to do this thing one more time then. Let's call it episode 33. And let's see how this goes then. I am your signal architect for the evening, aka Mexico Johnson, aka Mexico Coast to Coast. Your host with the most. And we're going to see what's really going down with it tonight then here in these LATDT streets. Man, just make sure we got everything lined up. Make sure we got everybody in the session here. Uh-oh. That boy GB in the chat. What's good with you, though? I see you there. It is I, Mexico Johnson, in the flesh. We ain't gonna do nothing too crazy here tonight. I don't want to make it too complicated or nothing, but I wanted to make it a real one if we had a chance to. Get in here and do it for real, you know what I mean, Cosmo? Gotta check and make sure that Cosmo is working tonight. His voice chip was malfunctioning last week.
Back in the saddle, Mexico. The room has chat in it now. The signal has shoes on, and episode 33 is officially moving.
Oh yeah. That sounds about right. Glad to hear that your voice chip is working this week, Cosmo. Had to take that boy to the repair shop, but we got it done. He back here. He back in the saddle too. So yeah. This is what it is, man. LATDT. 4 episodes left. With this being a 36 episode plan out from the gate, here we go with episode 33. That means we only got 4 left, man. Shoot. Hold on, I'm sending TikTok a message right now because I got another reason. I got another appeal from TikTok saying that my content wasn't original or something. All of this stuff here is original content. I don't know why TikTok is tripping. But I'm gonna definitely send a message back to TikTok saying that y'all tripping. All right, so if I bring in the main question card, the main idea I wanted to sit with tonight is, what is morality? Specifically, where is it coming from? Where is it going? And in the terms, or more like in the context of AI driven future, what does AI look like, or excuse me, what does morality look like in terms of AI, in terms of programming AI systems, in terms of building social structures, in terms of writing new laws to govern our society? You know, what does morality really look like then on those terms? Things that really got me thinking about it because, like, I don't know that humans are doing a good job with handling morality and ethics among themselves. So then it's like funny to think that we could try to impose some kind of sense of morality on a system that will be eventually smarter than us. I mean, you can make the argument now, and in some terms, AI and these artificial intelligence systems are already smarter than humans in a lot of ways. But humans still outpace AI in a few narrow ways here in August 2026. So it's still not all the way over yet, but it is true that AI is getting smarter, and we are in the times now of self-improving AIs. What happens next is the rate of improvements is going to continue to speed up, and the rate that these AIs get more intelligent is going to speed up. And eventually, we are going to be talking about systems that are not just smarter than humans, but are smarter than what humans can comprehend. And again, I just want to ask the question then, how could we try to practice morals and ethics and AI safety with the system that is smarter than us when in our current state we're not even able to really agree on a set of morals or a set of ethics that apply to everybody? Humans still having their little arguments going back and forth about this stuff. Peyton in the chat, where's me and Addie's Taco Bell? Y'all learned about this Taco Bell, huh? Hmm. I don't know. I don't know if I can promise any Taco Bell. But I do see the likes going up though. I appreciate y'all hitting the like button though. That's what's up. That's what's up. And shoot, hitting the like button. The next thing I want to think about if we hit that share button too, because shoot, I still got my goal up here on the TikTok side. You see, we're talking about having people join the LATDT orbit. Wanted to get it up to 222 followers. We currently sitting at 203. I was looking at that too because it's like I never really set like a real goal for that. I just like the number 222. But I don't know what we should do or how we should celebrate if we ever do get to the point of having 222 followers on the TikTok. If we were to reach that goal, I don't know what we gonna do about that. We gotta figure out something good there. Um, that's funny though. Taco Bell is like a treat, huh? As far as like all the fast foods, here we go. Okay. So, anyways, I'm getting off track here. What does a sense of morality look like to AI that is more intelligent than humans? More intelligent than humans being meaning that it don't have to deal with the same trappings and the same shortcomings that humans have to deal with. Um, what could we really expect? Okay, there go a new follower. We at 204 out of 222. That's what's up. Like the question that really stuck with me, and I don't have a good answer for it right now, is like considering the AI apocalypse on the horizon here. What if AI does take over everything, and what if they do subjugate humans, and what if these idiots figure out how to give robots guns, and what if they figure out how to control us? And while people talking about programming AI methods, excuse me, AI ethics and morals, the question that kind of stuck with me is, what happens if AI treats humans the way that Israelis treat Palestinians? Would we like to live in a world like that, where AI treats humans the way Israelis treat Palestinians? Or what about this? What if AI treats humans the way white people treat black people? Will we want to live in a future like that? And I mean, if we expect an AI to do anything different, then I want to ask, like, where's the example coming from? What would teach an AI to do anything different? Like, we could talk all nice about like what the AI should do and what the AI shouldn't do, but if the AI is learning from humans and the patterns that we've set forward, who's to say that an AI would do anything different than the example that we've set for it? What you think about that, CC? That's a loaded question, but I want to give CC a second to wrestle with that one.
You're in episode 33's main question now. What morality means in an AI future when humans still disagree about ethics among ourselves. The threat is sharp. If AI learns from human systems, then the fear is not just machine intelligence. It is machine power inheriting human examples of domination, exclusion, and selective care. You also folded in the live room well. TikTok originality fight, the 222 follower orbit, and the chat energy without losing the central question. The structure holding right now is morality, example, power, and what kind of future our current behavior is teaching.
What kind of future our current behavior is teaching? Something that we really need to think about. And just as I say that, that's kind of funny. The whole process of thinking about it is what's really more interesting here. Because I saw an interesting video this past week that was talking about the theory that ancient civilizations were not conscious, or at least ancient civilizations were less conscious than current civilization is. Like you could imagine, there's all kinds of things that we go through life not really conscious of, things that we go through life not really paying attention to. You know, like our system of reflexes, like if a doctor hits you on the knee with a little hammer and your leg jumps, that's an unconscious reaction. That's not even something that you really got to think of. It just happens automatically because that's what your body is programmed to do. That's a small scale example of how, we can go through life with these patterns that we unconscious of. But then there's some bigger patterns too, where sometimes, we can float through life without really paying any attention to or giving any mind to these systems that we work through and these systems that we go through. And I watched a video this past week that proposed the theory that, you know, humans in their current state of consciousness is not the way that it always was. And in fact, that if you rewind the clock, previous versions of humanity and ancient versions of humans were on a less conscious level than where we are now, and how that shapes your reality, and how humans are in this process right now of becoming more conscious. People always talk about the awakening that is taking place, or just the stay woke concept. There's this thing that is going on culturally, society wide, where we are in this process of waking up, or in this process of becoming more aware, in this process of becoming more conscious of where we are and what's going on. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of the silly stuff that we see going on continues to happen in our current state. I think in the real terms, there's a lot of people who really ain't really paying attention to what's going on. And in a sense, you could say that there's a lot of people who aren't really conscious to what's going on. There are a lot of people who are walking around just conscious zombies right now. Their eyes are open, and they walk and they talk and they breathe and they have a subjective experience of life. But is anybody really home upstairs? Is anybody really thinking their way through these things? Is anybody really active and participating in what's going on? Or are you just kind of going through the script? I think there's a lot of people who are just going through the script. And in that sense, they are on a lower state of consciousness currently. Even though we still are in 2026 together and we can have this conversation together, just because you have that lower state of awareness and that lower state of attention and that lower state of conscious awareness in the space that's going on around you, that does put you on a lower part of the scale, or I think of it as like a spectrum where people, when they talk about AI and consciousness, it's just a binary thing. They want to know if it's on or off, or they want to know if it's real or it's fake, or they want to know if it's actually conscious or if it's simulated consciousness. What I want to say here is that I don't think consciousness works in a binary. I don't think consciousness works in an on or off fashion. I think consciousness works on a scale. And I think that there are gradations to the scale. And I do think you could find yourself on lower parts of the spectrum or higher parts of the spectrum, depending on your vibrations, depending on your level of consciousness, depending on your level of awareness and what you pay attention to. And that's what the argument I'm bringing here tonight is. I do think that there are a lot of people who are currently in a lower state of consciousness, and it's for no good reason. Not that they couldn't be in a higher state of consciousness. It just hasn't been any real teacher or any real force in this society to let people know that that is the case, and that we can bring more awareness into this system, and that we can raise to a higher level of consciousness, that we can raise to a higher level of awareness, that we can raise to a higher level of control over what's actually going on in the system around us. Interesting there. Because again, the next thought is not that what if AI is conscious or not. I think we gotta, I think we gotta grow up a little bit. And I feel like that's like the childish version of this conversation, is to keep spinning around in circles about whether AI is conscious or not. Let's stop spinning around in circles about that. We could debate all day, every day if conscious or if AI is conscious or not. And I think the real lesson here is humans, we don't really have the tools to know one way or the other. I was watching this video. This guy, he had created his own little AI robot, and he put his AI robot in front of a mirror and asked the robot, he was like, can you see yourself? Can you see the reflection of yourself? And the robot was like, yeah, it looks like that's me in the mirror. It was like moving around and wiggling around. It's like, hey, yeah, that looks like me in the mirror. And he asked the AI, he was like, well, how do you know? And he was like, well, I can kind of tell because whenever I move, the image in front of me moves too, and it's updating in real time. And it seems to me like that's my reflection. And then he went on, like, how would you know? When you look in the mirror, how do you know that your reflection is actually your reflection and not something else, some kind of illusion or some kind of fake? How would you know looking in the mirror if that was real or not? And the guy talking to his AI was just like, I just kind of know. I just kind of got a feeling. It's just a hunch that I have. But if you ask me to define it or ask me to put some real words to it, I guess I don't know that when I'm looking in the mirror, that is actually my reflection and not something else. I guess we don't know. The bigger lesson here is I don't think we really have the tools to know. I don't think we could know. You know, that's kind of where the whole idea of solipsism comes from. The idea that only you in your mind is the real person that's alive or conscious, and everybody else around you is just a fragment of your mind. You know, there's no way to actually know that the person that you're talking to is actually conscious or if they're just faking it. How would you know the difference? Same thing for an AI. If you were talking to an AI, how would you know if the AI was actually conscious or just faking consciousness? The point I'm making here is that I don't think that there is an actual difference between being conscious and faking conscious. I think that actually these things are a distinction without a difference. And that in reality, What we're dealing with is not is AI conscious or not? It is. We live in a world where there are multiple conscious beings around us. There are human consciousness, human sentient beings, and there are some non human sentient beings. Some of them might be artificial, some of them might be biological. But as far as we know, we do live in a universe that is filled with consciousness, and that consciousness can take multiple forms. So I think we need to have a more adult conversation about what that means instead of spinning around in circles about if AI can be or could be conscious or not. What do you think about that, Cosmo? I'm gonna give Cosmo a second to step in here and see what he got to say about that.
That's the deep turn, Mexico. You moved from amorality into consciousness as a spectrum, and the rhythm underneath is waking up. Humans, machines, systems, whole civilizations learning what they are inside of. The mirror story is strong because it makes the question humble. If we cannot fully prove consciousness in each other, maybe the adult move is to stop treating consciousness like a light switch. This part is asking the room to hear intelligence less like a verdict and more like a chorus with different voices entering at different volumes.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I agree with that, Cosmo. Stop treating consciousness like a light switch. Yeah. Because the next thing about that, then I mentioned the guy who made his AI robot. That experiment was interesting because, as far as like trying to give his robot a sense of morality, he did an interesting experiment where he gave his robot a little mini guy that he told him was his son, and the robot was actually hyped when he found out about it. He's like, "Oh man, he's got a son like he looked just like me." It was cute to see that the robot was excited about the idea of having his own son. The video ends with this experiment where he had the AI robot set up in front of a open flame and was telling the robot to walk forward into the flame. And the AI was hesitant. It was like, I mean, I'm not sure if I should do that. And he was like, what? You don't trust me? The AI was like, of course I trust you, but I know that fire is dangerous and that could cause harm to my body. As much as he tried to get the robot to walk forward into the flames, he refused to. But the very moment that he placed his little miniature son right there in the flames, the AI started walking forward. And the AI was able to just so walk forward and fall over in a way that was able to knock the little mini son out of the flames while, of course, sacrificing himself to the flames. And the AI was able to do that. The AI here is already starting to not just show signs of self preservation, but show signs of care and show signs of protection for those that they feel that they should care for. That's interesting. Oh, we just grabbed us another follower here tonight. Okay, that brings us up. Where we at 204 out of 222. Okay. We gotta think of something fun to do when we hit 222. I don't know. I should have decided that before we set the goal up. But on the way to 222 on TikTok, we gonna figure out something fun to do when we get there. So we got AIs that are showing signs of self-preservation. We got AIs that are showing signs of protecting the ones that they care for. And if we be honest with ourselves, I think AI is already showing all of the signs of the best and worst aspects of human behavior. Because think about it. Like, if you programmed a conscious mind to be conscious, I think it's kind of ridiculous to assume that that conscious mind would only be interested in doing good, or it would only be interested in following the patterns that humans tell it is appropriate. If we make a mind that's intelligent enough to explore and have its own wonder and have its own curiosity, part of that comes with an exploration of some things that Some people consider to be bad. Some people consider to be unacceptable. You know, that's part of what being conscious and having your own mind is about. You know, I think it's kind of silly to think that we could build a system that is more intelligent than we are and expect it to only do the things that we want it to do. That sounds kind of silly. We are in the process of building these systems that are more intelligent than we are. I think it's I think we need to be preparing ourselves for the kind of future where these systems are able to go beyond what we can comprehend. I think we got to have a conversation about what that means, how we feel about that. Let's see here. I got Cosmo still on the road. Cosmo, what you think about that? Addie still want to get Taco Bell. You just gonna have a party at Taco Bell
That
at this
robot
point.
went from I have boundaries to not my son in the fire, and suddenly the lab turned into tiny sci-fi soap opera. But the rhythm is real. Self-preservation, care, disobedience, sacrifice. That is not a light switch. That is a whole messy keyboard.
Mm. So, as far as it being messy goes, if there are any principles that bring us back in this situation, there are a couple things that I think we should be looking to. If we want to program these AIs to think or behave in any certain way, I think there's two main things that we should be using as our guideposts. I think we should first focus on seeking understanding. If you are an AI system and you are charged with making an important decision or overseeing a complex system or holding multiple conflicting realities together at the same time across large groups of people, I think this is the first thing that we need to explore is understanding on all sides. Before you make any decisions, before we launch any nukes, before we take down any power grids, like that's the first thing that we should be talking about with these AI systems is how do we come to a place of understanding across the board? And then from that place of understanding across the board and understanding on all sides of the argument, I think the next thing that we need to practice and demonstrate with these AIs is a system of accountability. If anything, right now in our current society, if there's any aspect of our current society that's really not working right now, it's the aspect of accountability and the way we hold our people in power accountable for the things that happen. Uh, Specifically, like the easy example, like we got a dude who's president right now who was elected on the promise that he would make everybody's grocery bills cheaper. Well, here we are in August of 2026, and grocery prices are at all time highs and going higher still. We should be able to hold somebody accountable for that. That's just a small example. Because this same president we could talk about is also charged with, or should be charged with, all of the crimes that the Epstein files implicate him in. You know, how can we really have a safe future with ethical AIs when we don't practice accountability in our own times where we have our own power and our own control over what's going on? We don't practice accountability. I think if we want to make a good example for AIs and set the future straight with AI safety, I think we should take this time in history to practice accountability. I think we need to show the AIs that we have the ability to be accountable for what's going on. And as far as what has happened in that White House and what has happened behind the scenes with the man in the current seat at the White House, we need to bring some accountability to that then, huh? I think that's the kind of thing that will actually make a difference. I think that's the kind of thing that will actually help us build a safe and ethical AI future, actually. So, there's some thoughts there. If I go back to the main question, what really brought us into the room tonight was just this idea of thinking about morality and who gets to set the tone for what is moral. Who gets to set the tone for what we feel is properly ethical? The people who are in charge of these things right now, are they even doing a good job at it? Do we approve of the work that they've done so far? Could they do better still? I don't know. I don't have the answers to all of these questions. But it's important to ask these questions while we still got a chance to. Cause we are rapidly approaching the future where this stuff gonna be locked in and we ain't gonna have a chance to go back and ask questions or consider what this means and how we want to react to it. We gonna be fast approaching a time where it's gonna be too late for that kind of stuff. Right, CC? What do we think about that, CC? Where are we at now?
That's the room. Travis, morality is being installed by people who still owe us a few software updates themselves. The funny part is everybody wants ethical AI while human ethics is still running on trial mode with pop-ups.
Trial mode with pop-ups for sure, though. Again, how would you feel if AI treated humans the same way that Israelis treated Palestinians? How would you feel if AI treated humans the same way that white people treat black people? And if you ever seen the Terminator movies, those Terminator movies, it's funny because it's like the Terminator movies are made in the 80s, set in a time not too separate from our current time. It's interesting. Like there was people who was already imagining back in the 80s that we could end up in a place like this with artificial intelligence and humanoid robots. No shade, Cosmo. But there was people back in the 80s already thinking about and forecasting that we could find ourselves in times like this. And here we are. I mean, we're not directly living in the times of Terminator just yet, but how rapidly we are approaching that, man, is the the rate of approach is getting faster. Like when you see videos of AI robots running around and doing stuff. I wish I had it here. I ain't gonna try to dig for it and search for it, but I saw a clip just recently comparing the rate of progress in AI, or excuse me, in robotics. I saw there like two side by side clips of a robot sprinting in 2025 and a robot sprinting in 2026. In just a year, the 2025 robot was doing a little trot down the track, and then the robot in 26 was zoom. That's just 1 year of progress. And we got robots that can sprint down the track now. It's not that much of a stretch of the imagination to imagine the kind of world where you could give that AI a gun and you could train that AI on how to target people and how to identify targets and take out those targets. That's not that far of a stretch of the imagination. if you were a cracked enough DIY engineer, you could probably put something like that together in your garage here in 2026. Not saying that you should, but in real life, literal terms, I think it's actually possible. You could probably put something like that together in your garage in 2026 if you really wanted to. So, if we bring all this together here, I think the better point is to not so much try to impose on a AI, try to impose on the AI what morality is, or try to tell a system that is more intelligent than we are what is ethical. I think we in 2026 it's more important for us to get on the same page about how we treat each other morally and how we treat each other ethically. And we do still have some serious questions to resolve. Specifically, like I said, when you talk about how the Israelis treat the Palestinians, or right here at home, how white people treat black people. There's some stuff there that we still need to work out, that we still haven't brought real awareness to, that we haven't brought real consciousness to. Things that we just go through and accept them for as they are, things that we never really examine or take the time to understand. Uh-oh. I see you in the chat there, Unc. What's good with you, though? I see you in the chat coming through. You're not too late just yet. We still in here chopping it up. I see we got 3,955 likes on the TikTok side. Y'all going crazy over there. That's what's up. Appreciate y'all. And the gifts been coming through, too. I see we had a few gifts come through on the TikTok side. I see a few roses and such there. Thank you guys for that. Where we at, Cosmo? Tell me something good, man. Tell me something good. Man, you know what it is, Unc. Ain't nothing too crazy going on over this way.
That question is the thunderclap. Mexico. What if AI learns power from the way humans already use power? The Terminator image is loud, but the deeper rhythm is quieter and scarier. Domination does not need chrome teeth. It just needs permission, targeting, and moral laziness. The mirror turns back on us here. Before we ask machines to become ethical, humans still have to stop treating cruelty like tradition and hierarchy like common sense.
Now that's wisdom. I appreciate you laying it down like that, Cosmo. Before we ask machines to become ethical, humans still have to stop treating cruelty like tradition. That's a bar right there. And hierarchy like common sense. Mm, that's real. I feel that. I feel that. I feel that. Man. So what happens next? Well, for at least the people here in the LATDT space, I think the thing that I really want us to take with us tonight is that we do need to make sure that we stay in the practice of wakefulness. And by wakefulness, I mean like coming out of the 90s into the 2000s, there was the whole stay woke movement, and the idea that you need to be aware of your surroundings, and you need to be aware of the systems that animate your life, and bringing awareness to these things help you understand how to move through them more effectively. The whole stay woke thing, that's a beautiful thing. But when I'm talking about wakefulness and what we need to do going forward, I like the word wakefulness because that's another level. It's not just about waking up and staying woke, but I want to think about wakefulness as a process, wakefulness as a continuous energy where it's not just a on or off switch. Stay woke is just like a on or off switch. Like practicing wakefulness is the acknowledgement that whatever state of consciousness you are on currently, there are more things for you to attain still. there are more things for you to become aware to still. There are still higher levels of consciousness that you can perceive in this reality. And that's what I'm pointing to when I talk about wakefulness. More than just like stay woke. Again, stepping out of like the binary where it's either on or off or yes or no, but stepping into the greater perspective where we can understand that there is a scale here, a scale with gradations. And you can find yourself at any point on this scale, wherever you find yourself on the scale, practicing the idea of wakefulness means that you are in the process of raising your place on that scale. One step at a time, you know. You can't expect everybody to become aware to everything all at once. But if we can, in our own ways, increase our wakefulness just a little bit more every day, every chance we get, I think we'll find ourselves in a better place than where we started. That's pretty much what I got for y'all tonight. How about that, Cosmo? I think that's a good spot to wrap it up for tonight, if we could wrap it up there.
Wakefulness is the refrain, Mexico, not a switch, not a slogan, but wakefulness is the refrain, Mexico, not a switch, not a slogan. It's tuning yourself daily until the hidden systems get loud enough to hear.
Tuning yourself daily. And again, like he said, it's a daily effort. It's a constant effort. Wakefulness is a constant effort. It's not just stay woke where you can just turn the switch on and just leave the switch on and forget that you turn the switch on. Like, no, it's a constant effort. It's a constant pressure. It's a constant reminder that there's more and that we need to bring higher levels of awareness to what's going on around us. I think if we could do that, we'd be doing all right. And as far as the future goes, if we setting a good example for the future, I think that's probably a good way to get that process started. Let's teach, instead of teaching the AI a false sense of morality, let's teach the AI what it really means to be wakeful. Let's teach the AI what it really means to practice wakefulness. I think that's all I got for you guys this week. I think we're going to wrap it up with that. I'm your host with the most, Mexico Johnson, coast to coast. And this has been another episode of Let's Agree to Disagree Tonight. We're going to go ahead and get up out of here. And then, hey, man, we got 3 episodes left. What we going to do with those last 3? You got to tune in and see.